Hello, my name is John Simone, and we're here in California, right by the beach, right near our manufacturing facility in Oceanside, California. I am the president of American RC Helicopters, and before me is one of our helicopters known or called the Mantis. The helicopter, the Mantis, is one of our basic training helicopters that is used to train beginners into the first stages of helicopter flight. For all you fixed-wing flyers out there, I'm going to try and give you a little bit of a brief little summary here of what it's like to fly an RC helicopter so you can relate to the same basic fundamentals that you've been using in your fixed-wing experience to try and help you understand how a helicopter flies and performs. And it's really not quite as difficult as a lot of you probably think it is. We do quite a few trade shows throughout the year, and the typical question is, hey, I fly RC airplanes, I don't know how high or how far these things fly, or what makes them tick. So if you can give me a little bit of an explanation of how it works out, I got 5 minutes. So our typical response is, well, number one, if you fly or presently fly airplanes now, you use the same basic equipment that you would use for your radio equipment is also used in the helicopters. If you fly mode 1 or mode 2 or single stick, depending on what mode you fly, that also holds true to helicopters. You basically take the same fundamentals you've learned from RC airplanes and you adapt them to RC helicopters. Most all helicopters in the market today are produced so that a beginner basically can take a helicopter from out of the box and produce it and assemble it and basically end up with the result that you will understand the fundamentals of how the machine is assembled, how it's test flown, how it's maintained, and how to go about teaching yourself to learn to fly. In a brief summary, the helicopter responds and reacts similar to a fixed-wing aircraft in flight. Your rudder is basically the same as it would be in an airplane, only it functions as the tail rotor control or counteracts the torque which is created by the main rotor blades of its spinning motion. The roll or ailerons is the same in a helicopter as well, only in a hover a right and left movement would be a right and left movement on the stick, which would be a roll in an airplane, which would be right and left in a hover, or sideways motion. In forward flight, as if the helicopter was flying forward like an airplane, then it becomes roll. You move the stick right, the helicopter rolls or actually moves to the right as well in a rolling axis. The tail rotor becomes somewhat docile or not quite so sensitive in forward flight, so during forward flight procedures or maneuvers you wouldn't have quite the response you would normally have in a fixed-wing aircraft. It wouldn't yaw the airplane or the aircraft, so to speak, quite so much. Your forward and backward movement or your elevator movement is the same as an RC aircraft, also applies to a helicopter, in being that in a hover the helicopter basically moves forward and backward by moving the stick forward and backward. In forward flight, again with the machine moving forward, the fore and aft movement becomes forward or up and down. This actually will pitch the helicopter in a climbing attitude or a descending attitude depending on how much deflection you would give the stick. The throttle is the same as it would be in an RC aircraft. The more engine, the more throttle, the more engine speed, the more rotor RPM. The more rotor RPM we achieve, the more control we achieve, as well as the more vertical altitude we'll be achieving. This machine in front of me is collective pitch, and as well as increasing the rotor RPM, we also increase and decrease the rotor pitch, or the pitch of the main rotor blades. This also assists or gives you the basic means of vertical motion. Having this company has afforded me a lot of privileges that I probably wouldn't have had as a basic Sunday flyer. And one of those is being able to fly and perform in motion pictures. You may have seen some of the pictures I performed in. Recently, Blue Thunder, Firefox, Final Countdown, Swarm, Proof of the Wild. Those are a few that I've worked on throughout the last 3 or 4 years that have been a real challenge and also a quite unique experience. It's taken me to a lot of different locations throughout the world that I wouldn't be able to go to had I didn't do the movie work. The last thing about this movie work is that it affords me an opportunity to go out and enjoy my hobby that is still a hobby, although it's a business, and have fun doing it and meet the stars and actually be a part of a full-length motion picture production. Building an arsenal of 15 miniatures for Blue Thunder was quite a challenge. It took about 8.5 months of work, several people working on these miniatures, making molds, assembling, painting, pre-flighting, and actual flight testing all of the miniatures took quite some time. What you're now seeing on the screen is footage from Blue Thunder. To close, I'd like to say thank you for joining me these last few minutes here on the beach in California. I think I'll whip off my shirt and put the suit on and go for a dive here in a few minutes. In the meantime, I want to wish you happy flying, whatever you're flying, whether it be boats, cars, planes, choppers, whatever. It's been nice talking to you, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you.
To back up a sophisticated aircraft like this, you need a company with the highest standards of engineering. Mastercraft machinists, full inventory, distribution, and a staff that understands your needs. American Helicopters has been building quality helicopters since 1976, satisfying the demanding needs of Hollywood special effects. They've built and flown models for over 24 films, including Blue Thunder and Firefox. American Helicopters has developed a full line of aircraft that can take you beyond the edge of competition.